we want to bring on now State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, who's been waiting in the wings, and we certainly do want to talk to her. You can hear me, and I assume I can hear you.
Yes, yes, it's great to see you, Denise.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we've been watching these hearings this week, and we wanted to bring you on because, I'm sure you who has walked down that path. You're an attorney, a Black woman. There are a lot of things that you identify with as it relates to the confirmation hearing of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And so I just want to kind of get that first sort of reaction from you. If you've been watching the hearings, or even when you heard the news that she was going to be nominated.
Well, first of all, when I found out that Judge Brown Jackson was going to be nominated, I was so overwhelmed and overjoyed. We knew that there were so many qualified Black women who were ready to lead our nation on the highest court in the land. And so to know that we were going to be in capable hands, uh, I thought was phenomenal. But to know that there was going to be finally representation of our perspective, our history, just our viewpoint on the bench just meant so much because we are a diverse nation. We carry with us, though, a history that is rooted in a lot of pain, a lot of resilience, and a lot of firsts. Because we had been denied so much, now we're seeing a lot of firsts, like the first Black woman to be a vice president, and now the first Black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. It's I'm very prideful. I have a lot of pride at this time in our history, and I'm so grateful to be able to witness this amazing woman who will arguably be the most qualified and prepared justice to ever be nominated and in the short future confirmed to the Supreme Court. So it's I don't want to get emotional, but I have a whole lot of pride in that. But sitting through and watching the hearings, I'm not surprised that her judgment is being attacked, her perspective, her decisions are being challenged by people, quite frankly, who really don't understand the law, who don't
Even though,
understand.
even though, if I can interrupt you one
Yeah,
second, it's
sure,
interesting that she even had to do that lesson, that the laws that she's upholding are the laws that are created by the Congress, right? And
correct.
so if they don't understand how that's applied, it makes you question what they've been doing all these years. Where do they think their laws go?
Yeah, but what I believe, Denise, is that they understand that they create the laws. What they are not prepared for or ready for is a Black woman interpreting them
Mm.
and making her decisions based on her perspective and her discretion, making her decisions based on the law. And so I think that is the issue. It is not that there are a set of laws. Everyone understands that, and Congress well knows their responsibility and their role in creating those laws. But what they are not completely prepared for, at least some of them, is a Black woman making decisions. And I think that intimidates many of them, but just get ready because here she comes.
And on the other end, assuming, well, first of all, do you believe that she will be confirmed?
Absolutely. I believe that she will be confirmed. I think everyone knows that. I think there's a lot of political grandstanding. I think a lot of people are looking to get sound bites, and they are getting sound bites in, but I don't think it'll impact the outcome. I think she will be our next Supreme Court justice.
And we've had uh, two African Americans on the Supreme Court so far, Justice Thurgood Marshall and now Justice Clarence Thomas. Two sides of a coin, right? And so we wonder, and we can credit Justice Marshall with so many landmark decisions that really did impact all Americans, but particularly African Americans. What difference do you think having a Black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court? What difference do you think that will make, or the impact?
Well, I look at her not only as a Black woman, but someone who has, just decades of experience as a judge, which is something that is new. Right now, we have justices on the bench who certainly have experience, but none have come with as much experience before reaching the Supreme Court than Justice Brown Jackson. So she's going to bring with her just the ability to write opinions and write lengthy opinions and be very thoughtful when she is writing on behalf of the majority of the court. And even in her dissents, which I think, if she's in a position to dissent from the majority of dissent of the judges, I think she will be very thoughtful and very careful and deliberative when writing her dissent. So I think what you're going to find from her is someone who will really bring a breadth of knowledge and an experience to the function of being a judge. And I think that is absolutely critical. She is also the very first public defender to ever be elevated to the highest court in the land. And I think that is so powerful because our public defenders represent those who don't have the ability or cannot pay or afford private representation. So oftentimes we're talking about those who are unemployed, underemployed, and who need help, who need assistance. So having a justice who have actually worked with individuals who are those in our society who we consider maybe the least of these in terms of their ability to attain resources. Bringing that perspective also to the bench, I think, is extremely important, not just when it comes to criminal justice, when it comes to economics and parity and everything else that unfortunately leads to this disparity in income. So I really think that she's going to bring just a different type of perspective based on her experiences in the legal profession to the bench.
And on that note, Attorney Braveboy, it seems as though you have actually been scrutinized yourself for employing or having an ex-offender working in your building, and I
In
mean,
my office. In
in
my
your
office.
office, exactly.
Correct.
Okay, so talk about that. I mean, what's the issue?
There's no issue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
We hire qualified people here in Prince George's County. We lead by example. This individual paid his debt to society. He was a juvenile lifer. He was 16 years old when he committed his crime, and it was a terrible crime. But he spent 29 years in prison. And while there, he obtained his GED. He obtained skills so that he could perform work while he was in prison. He even started a mentoring program for other prisoners who needed help and guidance as they transition, unfortunately, in to the prison, so that they would not get in trouble and that so that they could really have hope. And so when I started reviewing sentences of people who we believe were disproportionately sentenced, including these juvenile lifers, which the Supreme Court has said that sentencing juveniles to life is cruel and unusual punishment, right? But we had done that here in the state of Maryland, 82% of whom are Black. Our juvenile lifers, 82% of them who are sentenced to life are Black. And so we started reviewing those cases. His was one of the first we reviewed, and made a decision that he had paid his debt, that he was fully rehabilitated and reformed, and he deserved a second chance, and he is thriving. And since he has been released, we have released dozens more, and we have dozens more in the works. And, I think it's just about bringing, again, the right perspective to the criminal justice system, using your discretion and your power in any seat that you're in any position that you're in to do justice. And while we think of justice as prosecution, which it clearly is in many cases, and we seek justice for our victims, we seek appropriate sentences, the justice system does not end after someone is sentenced. there are post-trial motions that can be filed, and my office will look at those in a way that is fair and that takes into consideration all of the circumstances and make appropriate decisions. And that's what we did in that case. And again, he was qualified for the position and he was hired by my office.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Judge Jackson has been challenged on, and it may be something that you are addressing as well, is just the whole issue of recidivism and how
Yeah.
many folks that are released end up back in the prison system. And maybe there's an answer to why that happens. And maybe that's what you're working on right now. But
Oh,
how would you address that?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only are we reviewing sentences, but we are working on this issue of recidivism by working with people who are in prison. We have a program now called the Emerging Adult Program. So it is for individuals who are ages 18 through 26 when they committed their offense. We know that this age group uh, commits the most violent offenses in our community. So a lot of the armed carjackings, armed robberies, assaults are committed by people in this age group. What science tells us is that people in this age group, while they are legally adults, uh, physiologically, biologically, emotionally, they are still adolescents. So they're still growing, developing, maturing. The brain is still growing. The prefrontal cortex, which is the last part of the brain to develop, does not develop, as science tells us, until an individual is in their 20s, their mid 20s. And so what we're seeing are a lot of people who have access to weapons. They have freedom because they are considered legally adults, and a lot of time on their hands.
Mhm.
And many of them are undereducated. They are underskilled, so they don't have the ability to readily gain employment, and they're turning to a life of crime. And it is most unfortunate. But for the most part, these individuals, even if they are convicted, which we have a very high conviction rate here for those individuals who commit those serious offenses, even if they're convicted and sentenced, they are at some point returning home. That we
Mhm.
know. And it is how they return back to us that will determine how safe our communities are and how well they do. And so our program is designed to assist those who are in prison serving time because I believe in accountability. I believe in getting justice for victims. I believe in public safety, and I believe in accountability. But I also believe in rehabilitation. And so we have to invest on the front end, certainly to prevent crime, but also when those people do commit offenses, we also have to invest in restoring them and helping them to become restored. And so we have a program where we work with nonprofits. It's a virtual program because of COVID. You know, we started during the shutdown. So it's a
Right,
virtual
right,
program where we virtually go into jails and prisons all across the state because they're where Prince Georgians are housed. And we do character development. We expose them to uh, different professions and professionals in those fields. We are also assigning them mentors as they transition out of prison, so they have someone who will be their advocate who can assist them in making that transition. This is such a great program. We had our first pilot class. About 7 people graduated. This class that we're starting in a few weeks will have 30 individuals. My goal is to grow that to over 100 per
and it's
year.
housed where? Where is it housed?
So
Is it
it's housed out of my office, but it's
oh,
virtual
okay,
because of COVID.
I
It
got
was
you. Okay,
virtual, and so that platform works because we have individuals who are in the program from jails or really prisons across our state. And so if we limited it to one facility, then we would limit who would have access to it. So
right, okay. Mhm.
COVID taught us a lot. We can do some things virtually, and it's been very
Wonderful.
very powerful. So maybe Miss Barnes, you can come and talk to our class at some point because I think we want to expose them to all different types of fields, and certainly writing and the press and journalism is so important. And people who have gone through the experience of being in jail or prison, I think, can bring a unique perspective in telling the stories of those who are in the criminal justice system. So we want
Ex
them to not limit themselves on what they can do in the future, and we want to help them transition back in our community safely.
Exactly, makes sense. Actually, I have a little mentee, I think, who met you through one of those programs. He had a lot to say about it through that program. I don't know if he's engaged. I have to find out, but we want to make sure that happens. But you're planning to host an event next month in honor of Judge Jackson. You want to tell us a little bit about that before we sign off?
Absolutely. Well, we are going to have our monthly community in the courthouse, and by that time, Judge Jackson will be Justice Jackson. We believe that she will be confirmed by that time, so it'll be the last Tuesday in April. From 6 to 8 p.m. It'll be a virtual event, so we will send around a link for anyone who would like to join us. But we're going to talk about this historic moment, what it means for the court, what it means for the country, and also what to expect and those issues that we believe she's going to have to tackle as the newest justice on the Supreme Court. So we hope that everyone tunes in. It should be a very powerful program.
Looking forward to it. State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, thank you so much for being with us today. You know, the door is always open, and
Thank you.
a lot more I would like to talk to you about, but we'll schedule that for another time
I
and
look
get you
forward
back.
to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.